we're both pretty pumped up about things getting going here. There's just going to be some really interesting things coming up for this team in training camp and then beyond. And clearly, the season's going to be a challenge. But I think that makes it even more intriguing. Again, you know, you get mad at me sometimes because do I expect them to win the Super Bowl? Nope. Do I
No.
expect them to win the division? Nope. Do I expect them to make the playoffs? Nope. Can I still find entertainment and be interested in what they're doing? Absolutely. And that's where I am with this football team right now. I also wonder this, and we've kicked it around like crazy. And I find it hard to believe that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry will be back after this year if they have a bad season. And I know what Jimmy Haslam said about a big swing and a miss at the quarterback. I couldn't agree with him more, and I'm glad he said it because it puts it on the entire organization. But the head coach and the guy who brings in the players, Andy, they have to produce to some level. And I don't expect them to go 3-14. I think they'll be better. But if they go 3-14, I'd be stunned if they're both back. Mary Kay Cabot was on the morning show today with Ken and Anthony. And she talked about those guys, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, and returning to this team based on circumstances on wins and losses this season. Here's what she had to say.
No, I don't think that anyone is safe no matter what. I mean, there are some that are, but I think it's basically a season of exploration and, I mean, winning, of course, but also trying to figure out if one of these young guys, and I mean everybody but Joe, can be their quarterback of the future. And we know that they are poised to draft a quarterback in the first round. I think they should draft a quarterback in the first round next year. But yeah, so I think because of that, they're not looking at this as a make or break season for this regime.
You agree? I would like to agree.
I'm going to tell you this.
I really would.
On July 10th, I agree. How's that sound? I agree with everything she said on July 10th.
Okay.
It just takes one or two things to go sideways during the middle of a season, and then somehow or another, they're like, oh, that was the day they found out they weren't coming back. Or that was the day they realized they are coming back. Most times, though, it's the day they found out they weren't coming back. Right? All it takes is one, like there's something that we're not expecting that's going to happen during the season, and it's going to put intense scrutiny on the coaching staff.
I think these guys, I like Kevin Stefanski as a coach. I've not hidden that fact. I've said it since he started here. I think he's a good young coach. Excuse me. And I
hear how emotional you get about it.
I'm all choked up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've had people on the show say the same thing, that if he got let go, he'd get hired immediately. And I think he would. I think somebody else would hire him. Andrew Berry has some, draft decisions that have been questionable. Hopefully they're better this year, and hopefully they get some guys who can really produce and do some things, and we'll find out. Mary Kay also talked about, Andy, get ready. Are you set? You sitting down?
Go, give it to me.
Tight ends.
Yeah.
There you go. David Njoku in particular, who of course is the starting tight end, and they drafted Harold Fannin, who's a young rookie who caught a ton of balls for Bowling Green last year. But Njoku's situation, Dan, is somewhat interesting here. And Mary Kay commented about contracts and David Njoku with Ken and
I think
Anthony.
one they're going to have to look at would be David Njoku. David is looking to rebound from a very uneven year last year. But I did ask Andrew Berry about that at the owners' meetings or somewhere about extending David. That's something that David wants. It's something the Browns want. And so I think we'll see something happen there at some point, not necessarily in training camp or before the season, but I think it's something that both sides want to do. So you can watch for that over the coming months, I would think. And Greg Newsome is someone that they kind of have to make a decision on because he's in his fifth-year option year this year. So they have to decide if he's in their long-term plans.
Should they be?
Yes.
Both?
No. Well, just Njoku, right?
I want Newsome too.
I don't know why I'm hesitant on Newsom, but yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
You know why? Because he's sat down with us and he looks like a football version of Tristan McKenzie. That's why. He's a slight guy to be playing professional football. Yet I think he's good.
I do too.
I love his personality and I love his attitude.
I just think he's one of those players that gets caught in the mix, and the next thing you know, they're gone.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I don't want him to be.
Yeah, I don't either. But
and you know why? Partially because of the way the league has evolved and the position he plays. I think you need good corners. And I think Greg's a good corner. I don't think he's Denzel Ward caliber, but he's a good corner. And I think you need them, and you can't have enough of them. And that's why I would keep him. Now, if you have to pay him out the wazoo and pay him like he's an upper echelon corner, those guys are making buku bucks these days. I don't know if I would do that. But if I'm Greg Newsom in his representation, I don't know if I would hold out for that either. Good contract
I don't know
and go.
Why do I feel like I just feel like he'll be gone? I don't know why.
You might be right.
Yeah, I don't want to be right though. That's a problem. The turbulation.
Who'd you rather have, Martin Emerson or Greg Newsom?
Newsom.
Do I have to pick? You just told me I have to.
I believe you are going to have to pick, and I think the Browns are going to have to pick too.
They'll pick Martin Emerson.
Interesting.
I don't know. Are you walking away from a first-round pick? I mean, I know it's only a year's difference. Does that play into it? Remember the pride they take in their picks. Let's not forget that.
Okay, but Martin Emerson was their find in the third round.
Find. Yeah.
Well, at this point, if you have two guys, you're not thinking one's a first and one's a third. You're thinking which one's better, aren't you? After they've been here a while, when it comes to committing to that next contract?
I think it's hard for them to walk away from their own first-round picks. Let me just leave it at that. I think that's the way that it's extreme. I mean, it's hard for them to walk away from a third-round pick, let alone a first-round pick.
The thing is, they could have
get paid. You're talking about this year. They could have 5 of their own. Is it 5 of their own first-round picks?
At some point, Andy, you just look at ability and not where they were drafted.
Jeff, I agree with you, but for some reason, I feel like, when we made that stand and made them our first-round pick, well, then pretty amazing. They could have 5 first-round picks starting on this team on a team that traded away all those first-round picks for a quarterback.
You would bring Njoku back and give David a longer contract?
I would, yeah.
I would too.
I think the problem we forget about him too is how old is David now? He's
26.
26, and it feels like he's been here for forever. That's because
he was here about when he was 20.
Yeah, I think he was even 19 when they drafted him, and he turned 20.
The one thing I think to remember about David, twofold. He is still a young guy, and he has had some moments, but I don't think you're ever going to confuse his level of play for Travis Kelce's, for George Kittle's, for Brock Bowers, what he did as a rookie last year with the Raiders. I don't think David is upper echelon, top 3, 4, 5 guys at his position in the NFL, but I think he's really close, and I think he has the potential to get even better at the tight end position. And so I would not walk away from him. And if I could have Njoku on a good contract, and you're certainly going to have to pay him, and Fannin, if he pans out, then you could be really solid at the tight end spot. And, if Njoku signs a 2 or 3 year extension and Fannin comes on strong, okay, well, then there's your transition period, is it not? And at the end of 2 or 3 years, Fannin will be your guy, and David will probably have to go somewhere else to get another contract.
No, that's well said. Yeah, I agree. It still takes me back to the original question we were talking about here too, is, how does this affect into the coaching staff?
Well, Sean's in Westlake. Sean.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. Longtime Bills fan, live in Cleveland now. Thank you for not drafting Josh Allen and Dakin Baker. Really appreciate that.
Sean,
can you hear me?
You couldn't have said anything that hurts me more.
Dude, I had my quarterback purgatory for a long time too. I listen to you guys all the time. Love your show.
Thanks.
I just can't figure out how in God's name anybody in Cleveland wants Andrew Berry making another draft pick. If he has to draft a quarterback next year, that means he failed on Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders again. He already failed on Deshaun Watson. I mean, how many chances does this guy get? It's terrible. You guys have the second worst quarterback situation in the entire NFL. Saints are the only one that are worse. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't understand. He should have been fired last year. Why he even kept his job this year, it boggles my mind.
Sean,
I wouldn't do
it. The owner basically came out and said the reason we're in this mess is pretty much my fault. When you say swing and a miss, I mean, how many first-round picks did he have to trade away to bring Deshaun Watson in here? So automatically, he's got his hands tied behind his back on whether his draft is going to be good or not. When you don't have a first-round draft pick, you're not going to look good.
And here's the thing about that comment, the big swing and a miss, Andy and Sean. If the owner says that, we took a big swing and a miss, well, that gets somebody fired, doesn't it? Unless it was the owner making the call.
And who made
it was Andrew Berry's call? Two other quarterbacks.
Well, put it this way. If they were going to draft a quarterback anyway, which is what, most general managers say, you should probably pick a quarterback every year if you can, maybe, if you're in that kind of a situation. Who picked Shador Sanders?
Exactly.
Well,
if you're planning for next year, then why waste 2 draft picks on guys that you could build your roster out this year? It makes no sense.
Marketing, my friend. Money, my friend.
Hey, Sean, 2 things. Thanks for calling. Enjoy Josh Allen.
Have a good one, guys.
All right.
Sean.
Yeah, we can go to that Bills Super Bowl reunion, same as ours, the championship year. Same as we can go to the Browns one.
That's a cheap shot.
What do you mean?
They've been there.
Well, guess what?
They've been there.
I don't see the trophy.